All right, guys, this channel is definitely over, but I wanted to do one last video on one thing that I have been putting off this whole time, which is addressing some of the blue pills that we are taught and programmed with in this modern Western culture that we need to be aware of and try to dispel in both our own minds and others, because these sorts of cliches and platitudes sound real nice, so they get propagated a lot because most people are NPCs who just speak in cliches and platitudes, just reciting these nice sounding little sayings and mottos that they've heard before, but they're not doing anyone any good. They are just brainwashing us, gaslighting us into believing we live in a nice fantasy reality that we don't. It's basically turning everyone into cotton candy brained idiots who think they live in fucking Candyland. So here's a list of blue pill sayings that I have heard in my life an awful lot, and that you probably have too, and that we need to make more of an effort to falsify. The first is, you can do anything that you put your mind to. No, you fucking cannot, okay? No one can do anything, even if they put their mind to it, even if they're a fucking genius. All right, Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking and the smartest people in the world still couldn't do anything. All right, and the rest of us couldn't even do as much as them, even if we quote unquote put our minds to it. Like, it's so fucking stupid, the wording. Like, people don't want to say you could do anything, so they say you could do anything you put your mind to it. Meaning that if you're not doing anything you want, you're not putting your mind to it enough, right? That's just not fucking true, all right? People are so much more limited in their capabilities than they want to think, all right? This at least says that you're limited by your own intelligence and focus, which most people these days have very little of. But even then, you're so much more limited than you might want to think, all right? You've got some things that you could potentially do in your life, and those are the things you ought to be trying to do. But you shouldn't be aspiring to do so much more. Like, people in modern Western culture have such great high aspirations that are so soul-destroying when they don't reach them, because they've given themselves too much narcissism, thinking that that's what they ought to be doing, when it's not. Like, I remember when I was little, my mom sat me down and said, "Did you know that you could do anything in this country that you want to do, even become president?" And I'm like, wow, really? I could become president? She's like, yeah, you could. And I'm like, seriously? She's like, yes. I'm like, really? She's like, yes. Like, I couldn't believe it, right? But she fucking brainwashed me into thinking that I could become president when I couldn't even become the lowest level politician that there is, all right? That is just not something that I can actually do. And, aspiring to such a thing would just be like causing me mental illness, all right? So regurgitate that blue pill if you have taken it, and stop telling people they could do anything you put your mind to. All right. Or worse, the next one, when people say anything is possible, anything is possible. Like, that's just one of the stupidest cliche platitudes that people recite next to, things equally short and stupid, like everything happens for a reason. I mean, just shut the fuck up at that point. You obviously have nothing good to say. All right. Anytime you hear someone saying anything is possible, tell them to shut the fuck up. Okay. And if you say that yourself, what the fuck is wrong with you? How stupid do you have to be to go around saying anything is possible? All right? At the very least, talk scientifically, okay? Yeah, in physics, it is possible for just about anything to happen, but not everything, all right? Things you wouldn't consider possible are actually possible, but they're so improbable that they might as well be impossible. Like, it is possible for you to walk through a wall. If you were to continue trying for millions and millions, maybe even billions of years, there would eventually be one split second where all the atoms lined up and all the spaces and all the atoms lined up and you could pass through. But it would probably only last a millisecond, so you'd probably just go partway through the wall. So is it really possible if it is that improbable? No, it's not really possible. Right? Because you wouldn't live that long. You wouldn't be able to be doing it consistently, right? And that's the problem with people saying anything is possible. First of all, the first word in that sentence that is wrong is anything. Not everything is possible. Second of all, what we what we need to address is the second word that is wrong, which is possible. No, probable would be the more accurate word to use. All right. Not even just about anything is probable when it comes down to, I mean, what level of probability are you looking for, right? For it to be realistic and feasible for you to try to do, right? Again, with me trying to become president, if I were to try to launch a presidential campaign competing with these fucking billionaires that have been in politics, like, what is the probability? It's not probable enough for me to even consider it possible unless I'm severely mentally ill. I would have to be mentally retarded to think that that would be a good idea. It is not feasible because it is not probable enough, right? So, no, most things are not probable enough to be feasible enough for you to take the time and put in the effort and energy and invest the money that it would take to try to do them. Okay. So just like, you can't do everything that even if you put your mind to it. No, not everything is actually possible. It's not even probable. All right. There are things that you can do and things that you can't. And you need to be honest and accurate with your assessment of those things. All right. These people who are in the self-help community, propagating these platitudes, like, the same people who talk about the law of attraction. Oh, everything happens for a reason and everything is possible if you just try. It's fucking not, okay? These people are trying to delude you with bullshit so that you'll enter the type of state of mind that will pay them a lot of money that you can't afford to be basically life coached with more bullshit platitudes and blue pills. All right, cut the fucking crap. All right, the things that are possible are basically the things that we've seen happening in our world already. All right. There's nothing that is miraculous and magical about reality. Okay. But another platitude: everyone is equal, and what one person can do, another can do. Just because you've seen some celebrity or person you admire succeed doing something you think you would have loved to do, and you hear them talking to you, saying these things like, if I can do it, anyone can, doesn't make it fucking true. All right. That is just a line of bullshit that successful people say so that they don't feel guilty about their success and they aren't, being seen as lording it over others. Like, they feel like they have to say, if I can do it, anyone can. Or, look at me, I'm proof that anyone can accomplish anything that they, put their mind to, or anything you dream of, whatever the platitude is. This is what is called in logical fallacies an apex fallacy. All right. When someone who's at the top of their field is taken as a specimen and you act like, anyone can do it because they have, and they were once coming from, humble beginnings, just like you, even if that's often not the case, even if it was, that's an apex fallacy. Okay. You cannot take the top specimen in a field and then compare them to everyone else who is basically average or sometimes below average and act like they could have the same outcome. All right. You are probably not going to have the same outcome as the most successful people in the world. You're probably never going to be as successful as a celebrity, even if you were to win the lottery. All right. Even when average people do win the lottery, it doesn't end well for them. They squander all the money in a very short period of time. They don't know how to manage it. Right. Success is something that is less probable than winning the lottery, less sustainable than winning the lottery when an average or below average person does it. It's something that is like a miracle, right? For most of us people who are below average in our success. All right. So saying, oh, everyone is equals, we're all a blank slate. So if one person succeeded and had these wild dreams they actualized, then the rest of us can too, is just pure delusion. All right. This is neoliberal, postmodern delusion. Right? It all comes from that blank slate fallacy that they love to propagate. Saying basically, if everyone is given the same opportunities, we should all have the same outcomes. And then they've realized now that it doesn't work out like that. So they're trying to find ways to guarantee the same outcomes for everyone, basically trying to push equality no matter what, because they have this belief like that everyone is equal. Everyone should be able to have the same success and prosperity and abundance and everything. And it's all bullshit. All right. Basically, anytime you hear the word equality when people are talking about about people in general, any statement that starts out saying that everyone is all equals is guaranteed to be bullshit. All right. What one person can do, another can do if it's already within your capabilities. Right. Like I, as a guitarist, when I hear a guitar song that sounds like I might be able to play it, even then I'm not able to play all those songs. right? Like some of them I could play easily, some of them I could play with more difficulty. Some of them it would take me too much focus. Like I wouldn't have time to practice any other songs because they're so difficult. Like there's a song I've been practicing for 6 months that I still don't have down, and I'm like, it's too complicated. It sounds easy, but it's not. I'm gonna have to give it up, or give up multiple other songs so I can focus on it more. And then there's songs like, my dad once wanted me to have me learn a song for him that he knew was difficult, but he thought I could play because he had overestimated my capabilities, and it was like the most difficult thing I ever attempted, right? But he thought I could play it, right? The point is, you have to assess your abilities accurately and learn to manage your energies, all right? And not everything is worth attempting. Even if you see someone doing something, you're like, hey, I think I could actually do that. You don't know how much work is going to have to actually go into it. Like me as a guitarist, even doing something that is fun to do, often involves an insane amount of work, even sometimes for songs that are easy, right? So I can't just look at a guitarist who's playing a certain song that they make look easy and think, oh, I could do that. Like there's too many people out there who look at like people like musicians, they think to themselves, to think that I could do that if I really wanted, just makes me feel so great. And I don't have to do it because I know that I could if I wanted to, right? I've heard so many narcissistic people talk like that who are unsuccessful. It's like, just be fucking honest with yourself, all right? You can't fucking do everything, all right? You don't even have the potential, right? And they must know that deep down, which is why they're not even trying, right? And they're just having this sort of narcissistic self-acceptance, which brings me to the next blue pill, which is just be yourself, right? Be yourself is all that you can do. Like, never change the type of bullshit that they wrote in your yearbook when you were graduating high school. Like, you are perfect just the way you are. Don't ever let anyone change you. All right. But this platitude gets morphed into some really retarded and insidious things when people are like, in the self-help community, especially, or like online and social media, talking about how this could be useful to your thinking, right? Trying to turn it into some real advice. And they'll say things like, just be yourself and the right person will come along for you. Like the right partner, Mr. or Mrs. Right, will come along, right? Sometimes they'll even make it more stupid by saying they'll come along when you least expect it, or something like that. It's such bullshit, okay? It does actually require a lot of intelligence and effort and skill and chance to get into the right relationship with the right person. They're not going to just come along magically out of nowhere when you are least expecting it and not even trying. Like, women will say the worst things amongst themselves, like, just be yourself and the right person will come along when you're not even trying. When it'll just happen naturally when you least expect it and aren't even trying for a relationship. That's why you should just not try, right? It's like, no, you do actually need to put in effort and try to make a relationship happen if you ever want to get into one. And first of all, when it comes to just the first part, just be yourself. You are always yourself. You're never going to not be yourself. Whatever you're doing, you're being yourself. So a lot of the ways that people talk about this is just so fucking retarded, right? And then when it comes to looking at it from a self-help standpoint, like, yes, you should not be acting like trying to be a personality that is totally different from your own in order to impress someone who, especially if you might want to have some sort of intimate romantic love relationship with them, right? I mean, a lot of people think it is appropriate to put on an act when you're trying to like do a job interview and promise things that aren't true about yourself. But even then, it's like, do you want to just get fired when you show that that is not true? Like, there's people who will say things like, oh, I'm a very quick learner, and then you'll get fired after 2 weeks when you're not learning the job fast enough, because most people are not quick learners, especially for jobs. Like, a lot of people apply to jobs that are above their skills and then say shit like that. It's just not going to be true. It's like, don't give people the wrong expectations about yourself. So yes, you should just be yourself and not act like someone you aren't. But what if you do want to change, right? Can you not change personalities while you are growing up? Like, you should, right? Like, when I was in my early 20s, I wanted to act like more of an adult than I had in my late teens, right? So it made sense for me to change my behavior and try to act like a more mature person, right? But this is the problem among women, is that they practice too much self-acceptance and they don't actually grow and mature. And, some men too, not the ones that are into like self-help, but a lot of women get into the self-help talk on social media and will only focus on the self-acceptance part and say, just be yourself. That's all you can do. That's all you need to do in life. Everything will come your way if you're true to yourself. Like, they say the stupidest shit and then wonder why things don't go right for them. Like, give me a fucking break. You cannot just do whatever. You do actually have to try to better yourself and become a more mature person and to grow. You have to practice some self-development and try to be more intelligent. So yeah, it's like, if you do that, are you not being true enough to yourself? No, you're trying to become a better version of yourself or become your true self, right? And then, some of them will do this, but then in the wrong way and say like, oh yeah, if you try to be your true self, then the right person will come along naturally, as if by magic, the law of attraction. No, you're fucking delusional. Stop talking about the law of attraction. All right. Stop thinking that being true to yourself is something you should do just to try to get something, especially a person to come to you through some magnetic force, or some spiritual metaphysical force. All right. Look, you should be true to yourself, because to not be would be inauthentic and dishonest and lying and manipulative. And that's just not something we should be doing, right? Again, even for a job interview. Okay. And it takes more than that to try to get into a relationship. That's just the basis of what you should be doing in general in life, especially when relating to others, right? You shouldn't be portraying yourself as something you're not, but to get into a relationship requires much more than that. And that's not what this is about. So moving on, but similarly, another platitude about relationships and dating that I hear a lot is, oh, there's someone out there for everyone. Like, I used to hear this a lot as a PUA and dating coach. I would hear this among women who didn't want to take dating seriously and didn't want to think that they needed to put in any effort by getting dating coaching, or even doing so much as writing out things in a dating profile, right? Or putting in any effort at all. They would say this and the previous platitude, thinking that all they need to do is exist, right? And there's some right person out there that will magically come their way, right? I would also hear this sometimes from women who basically didn't seem very available. Either they were rejecting me outright, and they would say something like, oh, don't worry, there's someone out there for everyone. It's like, yeah, I'm not having trouble getting women because I'm putting an effort to meet them every day, right? Or they would just be women who obviously weren't available. Either I was trying to pick them up, or I was soliciting them for dating services, and they were obviously not available at all. Often career-minded women, right? And that's just this is a platitude, a mantra they're telling themselves in order to not have to worry about the fact that they're not thinking about dating. I'm not saying everyone has to think about dating. It's just be honest with yourself. Don't fucking delude yourself with bullshit, with these platitudes that make you think things that aren't even true. All right. It's no, you could possibly die alone. All right. If it's important to you to not die alone, stop telling yourself bullshit lines like there's someone out there for everyone. Don't worry, self. You can focus on your career alone for 20 to 40 years, and eventually you will find your right person, right? Because there's someone out there for everyone. No, there isn't. All right. There's too many people in the world, and that might make it seem, because the dating market is oversaturated, like there is someone out there for everyone, but there isn't. You can be the odd man out in the game of musical chairs that marriage is. Understand? You can be left alone, as many people are now, because of the fact that they've taken for granted the fact that, that there's so many people out there, especially on dating apps. This is why women are left alone, because they're taking it for granted, because the dating market is oversaturated. So it makes them think they don't have to be serious about dating, and that someone's just going to come along at some point without them having to put in any energy into trying to find them, and that it's just going to happen naturally to them, when that cannot be further from the truth. All right. So no, there's not someone out there for everyone. Your right person is not going to just come along if you exist for long enough, right? You either need to be honest with yourself that dating is not important to you, as us MGTOW men are doing, and that you don't want to do it and you're okay with being alone for the rest of your life. Or you need to make yourself available, put yourself out there, and then put in effort into actually dating and trying to find someone. All right. But you cannot be on the fence about that and then be all bewildered when you're in your late 40s and still alone. And then start saying bullshit other platitudes like, oh, where are all the good guys? I thought there was someone out there for everyone, but the problem must be that, the men are bad, or something. It's stop living by blue pills and then being confused why they're not true and nothing's working out. All right. And then another one, when it comes to relationships, for people who actually can get into them, People who are actually having some success with dating and are actually romantic types who actually do fall in love and have some success with relationships, is that they will say love conquers all, or love is all you need, or some other bullshit platitude about love. They have so many mantras about love, especially the ones who are more spiritual, right? Love is not all you need. It does not conquer all. It is not some mystical force from God that is going to solve all your problems, make everyone okay. It does not cause you to automatically live happily ever after. And this is part of the problem, is that we watched these cartoon fairy tales growing up, and before there was cartoons, we were reading fairy tales. We've had these fairy tale love stories passed down from generation to generation, originally in story form and now in cartoon form. And it's fucked us all up, because they make us think that love is all you need, because after you fall in love and get married, you're going to live happily ever after, right? And these fairy tales never tell us the real story of what relationships are like, right? It just shows two people overcoming some obstacle to get into a relationship, falling in love, getting married, and then it ends with they lived happily ever after, when that has never been the case for any relationship. You know, people do not just get married and then live happily ever after. All right, and thinking that is the most delusional, retarded shit. Okay, relationships are work. It's constant work. All right, you're going to have a honeymoon period at first, but people are now getting married after the honeymoon period. Like, people used to get married earlier on. Like, they would have a short courtship phase, and then their parents would meet, they would discuss getting married, and then they would do it, right? But after like the 1960s or so, people stopped getting married so soon. So now people are getting married at the end of what has already been a long honeymoon phase. And then as soon as they get married and they settle down and start trying to have a serious adult life together, it's all fucking work. Okay, it's not happily ever after. It's a constant struggle, especially in this economy, even with two people working together and everything. And one of the problems is that most women want to leave 95 to 100% of the work when it comes to both the relationship and the economics of your lives and everything else that you have to do, the housework and everything, up to the man. All right. So no, love is not all you need. Your life together requires work, and women need to be doing half of it, ideally, and they're not. Okay. And also, most people aren't getting prepared for this stuff properly. It's taking them by surprise. They thought love was going to be all they needed and they were going to live happily ever after. And then they're surprised by the fact that, you know, when they buy their house together, you know, there's going to be so much housework that needs to be done. When they have relationship problems, there's going to be so much work that needs to be done in the relationship. What a fucking shock, right? No one fucking prepared you, and you just listened to these Disney fucking mottos, living happily ever after, and these stupid mottos from songs like love is all you need. You listen to the bullshit platitudes instead of actually learning from people who could have taught you, like relationship coaches and teachers, you know, social scientists like myself, or parental figures who have been in marriages. Like, you know, most people don't listen to their parents if their parents even try to teach them. Like, no one wants to actually learn, right? They want to believe in bullshit. Okay. So yeah, a big shocker. Relationships are fucking hard and they require a lot from you. Another platitude is that marriage is a sacred institution. Guess what? Institutions are bullshit. They're not fucking sacred, okay? Especially marriage. You could make an argument that once upon a time it was, under certain circumstances, but I'm not here to make that argument, all right? So my argument is that in spite of the fact that it may or may not have been, you know, something that was more special, perhaps even sacred and spiritual at one point, marriage, as we can see it today, is not a sacred institution. It is bullshit. It is corrupt, okay? It has been corrupted by feminism, by capitalism, by bullshit romanticism. Like, you know, even if some romance is necessary, you know, like I said, we're being brainwashed by the wrong type of romanticism, right? Basically, everything about marriage is complete crap. It is not even a good thing. It's not special. It's not good. It's not romantic anymore. I mean, the ways it's being romanticized are not right. They're not correct. They're just deluding people. And it's been corrupted by capitalist greed on the part of women, and feminism has corrupted it, making it something that is for profit, done for profit. Like, women get married to men in order to profit off of those men and eventually divorce them and take half of their shit. And then Also, love as an institution. That's bullshit. Like, why should love be institutionalized? Why should marriage be an institution that two people in love are forced into? Again, it may have had a better purpose at another time, but these days, many people are waking up to the fact that we do not need an institution to tell people that they can be together and stay together. You do not need to institutionalize love, right? What you need is to be realistic about love, and marriage is not doing that. Marriage is not about showing people how they can stay together, right? It's not about teaching people relationship skills so that they will have a sustainable relationship that will last. It's not about making it work out, right? It is just about creating a legal contract and framework that involves government and economics and law, and it like politicizes and institutionalizes the fucking thing. Oh, and not to mention the realistic or the religious aspect. It makes it a religiously institutionalized thing. All of which is bullshit. It doesn't actually help the people stay together. You understand? That's not causing people to stay together. And again, once upon a time, it actually forced people to stay together, but that's not what it's doing anymore. It's all bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Marriage is not a sacred institution. It is a bullshit contract. All right? So let's just stop talking about marriage as if it's anything fucking special or sacred. All right? Let's call it what it is. It is an institution that is purposely meant to fuck over men and rip them off and hand over half of their assets to a woman without ensuring that they're actually going to stay together. So we don't need it, and we shouldn't want it. Here's another blue pill. What goes around comes around. Karma. What a blue pill. Makes you think that you do not have to be proactive in seeking justice for yourself. You don't have to even be defensive in the way that you act, right? Because if someone screws you over, they're going to get theirs, when there's plenty of people who don't. There's people who are successful by screwing other people over. So, yeah, you do actually need to take advantage of your opportunities and defend the things that you have, right? You cannot just assume that things are going to come your way based on karma, and if anything doesn't go your way because someone rips you off, they're going to get theirs. There's no such fucking thing as karma. This is just a spiritual line of bullshit to make other people feel better about bad things that happen to them, and think that they ought to do good because, if they do good by others, it's going to reciprocate back to them. There's no law of reciprocity, okay? And there's no karma, right? So you do need to be defensive and protective. You should certainly not be trying to screw other people over, because it's wrong and it's not going to make society go well, and you could then have justice come your way, right? But don't believe in some fucking metaphysical force that's going to like take care of you, like karma. Okay, another platitude that is about that and the law of reciprocity is you get what you give out. That is just not true. There's no reciprocity. You're not going to have an equal and opposite reaction from society if you are a very benevolent, generous, giving person who self-sacrifices for society. You're not going to get what you give out with others. There's so many people who are takers who look for those types of people who they can then take from, without having to give, okay? Another platitude, you get what you deserve. This is what is called a just world fallacy. You do not automatically get your just desserts, okay? You do not even automatically get what you are entitled to. In fact, you could even sign a contract with someone and have them welch on it, and you have to take them to court, all right? You do not get what you deserve or what you are entitled to in this world, in society, even with the court systems and, the systems of contracts that we have. Like, people are always trying to screw each other out of things, all right? So, yeah, don't think that you're going to get what you deserve, even if you're fucking doing the right thing, okay? And then another way that people talk about this type of thing in the law of reciprocity is in the self-help community, when they talk about the law of attraction, and they say you attract what you are. So if you are a good person, you will attract good things to you, and so on and so forth. There's so many ways that they will say that, like, if they're talking about dating, like, oh, if you are a romantic person, you'll attract a romantic person to you. If you're a spiritual person, you'll attract a spiritual person. Whatever. It's all bullshit. All right. There's no fucking metaphysical nature of reality that is going to cause you to magnetically pull like-minded people or things that are like you to you. All right. It is just not going to happen like that. Okay. That's not how reality works. You're not going to just attract things that are like you. All right. I know because I have very specific personality traits, and I do not attract people with those personality traits. I've got specific interests. I don't attract people with those types of interests, right? And, like I said, there's no law of reciprocity here. There's no law of attraction governing everything, all right? Another blue pill. Money isn't everything. Are you not living in a capitalist country? Because here in capitalist countries, money is actually everything. People worship the fucking dollar. Right. So while money might not be everything in communist countries, it's, you could still even make the argument like they use currency there. It's important to their economy. So yeah, ever since currency was invented, money is pretty much everything, and thinking otherwise is delusional. But let's go back to relationships for a minute. Here's a fucking platitude I really hate. One of the worst ones: happy wife, happy life. First of all, why would you have to say that? You shouldn't have to make your wife happy in order for your life to go well enough for you to be happy. All right. And it's like validating that women can actually ruin a man's life if you're not doing enough to make your wife happy. Like you have to appease your wife like she's some fucking goddess of destruction in order for you to live well enough to be content. That's not right. And marriage is not about making each other happy. Right? And this platitude isn't either. Like, why isn't it like happy wife, happy husband? Right? Why is it all about a man making a woman happy and not her making him happy as well? Right? It's one-sided. That's not right. But a marriage isn't about you two making each other happy. A marriage is about just having a relationship. It's about relating, right? You're not always going to be happy. And it's certainly not just a man's job to make a woman happy. And even if a man makes his wife happy, she could still make him miserable. Like there's plenty of guys who self-sacrifice for women who are ingrateful and still ruin their lives. All right. So fuck that bullshit platitude. Like if you ever hear anyone say happy wife, happy life, you should tear them a new one. Like what type of simple-minded simp would say such a retarded thing as if they actually believe it? I mean, it takes a real serious NPC to recite such a ridiculously stupid, mindless platitude. Here's one that I did believe, though, for a very long time, that I'm not ashamed to admit that I did believe it, because this is actually one of the better ones, and that is that you can make a difference in the world if you try. You can create the change you want in society if you try. Or people even say, like, you can create the change in the world that you want, starting with yourself. Yeah, so I actually believed in that so much that I created a personal development company so that I could use the types of personal development that I was into for building myself and my life, and teach that to people so that I could ideally create some level of social change and help to better the world around me. And I failed. I did this work for 13 years, so I obviously, I ran the business for long enough that I was seeing some level of success. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to last that long. But in the end, I had to admit to myself that I had been struggling for most of those years to turn a profit, right? And it wasn't because I was doing the same thing the whole time. I was constantly evolving my company, my business practices and everything, and doing really, really hard work and really smart work, and constantly changing and trying to, evolve with the times, to change with the market as it was changing. But in the end, I had to admit, I could not make the difference that I wanted to make, that I was told that I could make by my teachers in school, my parents, my peers, the fucking people on social media spreading platitudes and blue pills. You simply cannot make a difference in the world even if you try your hardest, unless you're someone as rich as like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, these types of people. And the only reason they got rich is because they're not trying to make a positive difference in the world. I mean, maybe Trump is now that he's trying to become president. But there's a paradox here that the only people who are powerful enough to be able to make change in the world are the people who got rich through capitalist corruption because they don't care about creating positive change, right? So I think that, my company and so many other companies like it is proof that if you are building a business that is not based on capitalist corruption, but is based on values and trying to spread those values to create positive change, that you will fail, right? Because business is not built off of values. It is built off of capitalism, built off of capital and the ability to create capital, right? And that's not what I was focused on. I was focused on trying to spread value. And in business, in order for a business to succeed, you cannot be sharing value. You cannot just be giving it away. You have to be taking more value than you give, right? So, basically trying to create positive change in the world, trying to give back to society is not what builds a business. It will cause it to fail, actually. Well, let's talk about a religious platitude. There's so many of them, so I'm only going to do a couple. God is good. God is always good. Trust in God. Yeah, there's no way to prove that. That's just a bunch of positive thinking bullshit that is meant to tell people to stop thinking negatively when things are going negatively, and certainly don't blame God, right? There's more of them, like God works in mysterious ways. This is what is called a thought-terminating cliche. It basically means stop thinking, right? Stop asking questions. Stop considering these things. Stop questioning God's ways or God's plan, right? Another one is that God has a plan that we don't understand. We can't understand, right? But it's all part of God's plan, right? It's just a thought-terminating cliche. It means shut up, stop thinking about it, stop asking questions about it. Don't think critically. Don't even try to consider God's plan. You won't understand it. So just shut the fuck up, right? It's one of the things the clergy tells people so that you will just keep on believing, keep on coming to church and paying your donations, your tithes, right? Don't question their ways. Don't doubt, right? Keep the faith. Don't doubt. They just want you to keep believing what they tell you and not doubt it, right? Because this is their business. This is what keeps them alive, right? So they have tons of thought-terminating cliches about God's mysterious ways, God's plan, that God is all good. Trust in God. Keep the faith. There are so many of these platitudes about faith, right? Like, anytime you're doubting, asking questions, they're going to always end up talking to you about faith, because when they cannot prove what they're trying to get you to believe in, that's the best thing they can do, is to assert that you need to keep the faith, right? Another way that people who are non-religious do this sort of thing is by assuring you that it will all work out in the end. Not if you don't try to get that result. I mean, again, you cannot just trust that things are going to work out naturally. People who say, don't worry, it'll all work out in the end, are just high on positivity. Like it's just they've doped themselves up on bullshit blue pill platitudes because so many things don't work out in the end, like life in general. Like we all die. Many of us not in the way we want to. Like, have you thought long-term enough about this? Because the end, what is the end? The end of my business was that it failed and I closed it in a way that I hadn't wanted to. Like, life ends in either horrible death through injury or a even worse death through prolonged illness. Best case scenario, you die in your sleep. But, you don't get to say goodbye. It's not like in the movies, right? It's like, things don't fucking work out, especially in the end, right? The end is when things stop working out, usually. Like relationships end in divorce, usually, or death. Which of those two are better? Like, I cannot believe how many people say things like this to each other. It's like, just shut the fuck up. What you're saying doesn't even make sense. Have you even thought that far ahead? You obviously haven't. So shut the fuck up and stop making false assurances. This is like lying. All these things. Platitudes are basically cliches that are no longer even true, if they ever were. Right? They're all lies, right? Especially this last one, this is even more common. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. Just like, we're circling back to what I said in the beginning, you can do anything you put your mind to. The type of people who say that will often say this, you'll succeed at anything if you work hard enough. Meaning that if you aren't succeeding, you aren't working hard enough. That is such fucking crap. It is so bogus. Basically, it means if you're not where you want to be, work harder. If you're not getting paid what you think you ought to, work harder. Like, and any problems that you have, just work harder, right? All of your dreams, career-wise, can be achieved if you're just working hard enough. Meanwhile, most of us know what it is like to work 60 hours a week or more. Most of us have been workaholics for at least some period of time. Some people have done it for a lot longer than others, like myself running this company for 13 years that was generally unsuccessful. I was pouring 60 to 80 hours of work in it per week for 13 fucking years. And I had some success. I went on 2 world tours, but generally I wasn't successful. And it wasn't because I wasn't working hard enough. I was working as hard as I physically could, as hard as was actually possible for me. Right? I still needed a certain amount of sleep in order to have the mental capabilities, right? But there's so many people who spend their whole lives in poverty while working really hard, back-breaking jobs, people who work in hard labor, people who work doing very dirty work like janitors, sewage workers. Most people in poverty are working extremely hard for very low wages. And this platitude of, you'll succeed, don't worry, just keep at it, keep working as hard as you can. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. That's something that a lot of like bosses say, and rich older boomers who are at the top of the hierarchy in our economy are saying, just to keep us doing our wage slavery for them. All right, it is just a bunch of brainwashing, blue pill bullshit meant to keep us working hard while in poverty because we are fucking slaves for the economy that they actually own most of. All right, so don't believe their bullshit about how hard you should be working for how little, and that if you just keep at it long enough, you will succeed, because there's people who have been doing it their whole lives and are at retirement age and are starting to realize they're never going to retire, and they've never really even made their way up the corporate ladder, and they're just going to have to work themselves until they die. All right, that's what we're seeing now. All right, that is the fucking reality of it, okay? Success is not the product of long, hard work. There's no amount of hard work that is enough to guarantee success, all right? It is the product of other things, okay? So don't believe their platitudes. If someone's telling that to you, it's probably because they're actually your slave master. Either that, or they're just another NPC slave themselves who's fucking brainwashed and trying to, propagate this brainwashing. Either way, you need to start rebelling against this platitude and all of the others. Stop allowing yourself to be brainwashed. Stop propagating the brainwashing, right? Stop taking these blue pills. You need to start spitting them out and telling others that they are wrong, okay? That these mantras should not continue to be recited, all right? That they shouldn't keep fucking telling themselves and others these things, because we're just gaslighting each other into living in a false fucking sense of reality. We're creating delusions that are not healthy for ourselves, not just our mental health, but our physical health too. Like, people are working themselves to death, all right? People are putting themselves into unhealthy situations, all right? People are creating a false sense of reality that is making them delusional and mentally ill. All right, and it makes us depressed and unwell in other ways too. We've got to fucking stop all of the bullshit. Stop spreading blue pills. Stop feeding them to each other. Stop taking them. All right, start spreading the fucking truth. All right, so dispel the lies and start taking red pills instead. All right, and with that, those are all of the blue pills that I have to go over for you, and that concludes this final video in this whole entire channel. If you want to take some other red pills instead, look over my past videos. I'm not going to be re-releasing them. There's no point in hitting the subscribe button and waiting for my next release. You have to take control of your fucking internet use and navigate to the fucking videos tab, click on it, and scroll through the past releases. Look at all of the red pill and black pill content I have for you there, all right? Take control of your life in the matrix and take the fucking red pill. I put out almost a video a day. There's like almost 350 videos there for you, maybe even more. You've got to navigate over to the videos tab and go through all the red pill content I have for you there. All right. Take those red pills and start living in the true reality. Stop buying into the fucking bullshit of the Matrix.